Do you love the sound of jazz guitar chords, but you're terrified of breaking your fingers with big painful stretches like this? What if I told you not all jazz chords are that scary, and you can access those beautiful sounds by simply spicing up the chords you've been playing for years? After almost 2 decades of teaching, I've watched hundreds of students make this exact transformation. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the exact same process that will make your playing sound pro. Let's go. Most of the time, people create chord progressions from the chords within the major scale. So let's do exactly that now with A major scale. Here's some chords that exist in that key. We have A major. This is the 1 chord as it's built from the first note in the scale. B minor is chord 2 because it's built from the 2nd note in A major scale. D major is chord 4 and E major is chord 5. Yes, I know there are more that I've missed, but 4 is enough for now, so let's keep it simple. Here's our chord progression. This is the 1, 2, 4, 5 chord progression in A major, and all of the chords are triads, which are not often used in jazz, so let's convert them into something more jazzy. 7th chords are just triads with 1 more note added. Triads have 3 notes, the root, 3rd and 5th, and 7th chords simply add the 7th degree to the triad. The easiest way to change a triad to a 7th chord is to find the octave in the chord shape and lower it by 1 or 2 frets depending on the chord type. So for this A chord, we have an A in the bass. And here's the octave. To get A major 7, we simply move that octave down by 1 fret and we get this. See? Easy, right? Just because a chord has a fancy name doesn't mean that it's actually harder to play. Let's do the same thing with the B minor. Here's our bass note, and then we find the octave. And we just move it down by 2 frets this time and we have B minor 7. For the D major chord, our octave is here on the 2nd string. So we just lower that by 1 fret and we get D major 7. And finally, for the E major chord, we're changing it into E dominant 7, or just E7. So we find the octave here on the 4th string and lower it by 2 frets. So it's now an open string. So here's our new progression. So you can hear that the chord progression is getting a little bit jazzier, but most of the time the chords that jazz players play don't include open strings. So let's find some other ways to play these chords. One thing that you can do, which is really common in jazz, is to leave the 5th note out of the chord. So instead of 1, 3, 5, 7, you just have 1, 3, 7. These are called shell voicings or shell chords, and they have all the ingredients that we need to spell out a heap of different chords. Let's start with the A major 7 shell voicing. We have the A in the bass, then we skip a string and then we've got the major 7 on the D string here. Then the major 3rd is on the G string here. For the B minor 7, we're going to shift the A major 7 chord up 2 frets so the root note is B. Then we'll change it to minor 7 simply by moving the 3rd and 7th down by 1 fret. For the D major 7, the root note is on the A string this time. Then the 3rd is on the D string and the 7th is on the G string. And finally, for the E7 chord, we just move the D major 7 up 2 frets, then lower the 7th by 1 fret. So we put it all together and we get this. Now all of these chords are chords that jazz players actually use all the time, but if we want to take things a bit further, we can take those shells and add some color tones to them to spice them up a bit. So for all of the shell voicings that we just played, we have the root note on the low E string or the A string, and the third and seventh on the middle two strings, the D and the G. For these examples, I'm going to add color tones to the B string only, but you could also use the high E. So to the A major 7 chord, I'm going to add the 13th, also called the 6th. This note is an F sharp, and it gives us A major 13. To the B minor 7 chord, let's add the 11th, also called the 4th. This note is an E. To the D major 7 chord, we'll add the 9th, also called the 2nd. This note is an E. To the E7 chord, we'll add the sharp 9. This note is a G. You might recognize it as the Hendrix chord. This one uses a note that's not in the scale, the sharp 9. Non-scale tones are going to show up more and more in the next examples as our chord progressions get even more spicy. Here's the whole thing so far. How are you finding them so far? Easier than you thought? Let me know in the comments. This is where things start to get a bit tricky, but also where we can get into some pretty different sounds. Let's talk about tension and resolution. So in the key of A major, E7, which is the 5 chord, feels like it wants to resolve to the tonic chord, A major 13, which is chord number 1. That's why I placed it at the end of our chord progression. We can use this device with other chords in the key by finding the 5 chord of that particular chord. This will give us chords that have notes not found in the A major scale. These are called secondary dominant chords. We can then use them as passing chords between each chord in the progression. So we've already got the 5 chord of A major 7, the E7 sharp 9 at the end of the progression. So next, we'll add the 5 chord of B minor 11, which is F sharp 7. Let's make it F sharp 7 sharp 9 to give it even more tension. Next, the 5 chord of D major 9, which would be A7. Let's make it A13. Next, the 5 chord of E7 sharp 9, which would be B7. Let's make it B13. Now we could stop there, but we're going to take it one step further because we have one more spot to add a passing chord. So let's find the 5 chord of the B13 which we just added, which is the same F sharp 7 sharp 9 chord we used earlier. And here's the whole thing. Now that we've got all these dominant chords creating tension and resolving strongly, we can substitute them for other chords. For the F sharp 7 sharp 9 in the first bar, we're going to substitute B flat diminished 7. The B flat in the bass creates a nice chromatic movement here between the A and the B bass notes of A major 13 and B minor 11. Next, we're going to swap the A13 for E flat 9. This is called tritone substitution, and it allows us to resolve down to D major 9 with a dominant chord a semitone above. And we'll use this same device for the F sharp 7 sharp 9 chord in bar 3 by changing it to C13, resolving down to B13. Speaking of B13, let's do another tritone substitution here by replacing it with F major 9. Using a major chord here creates a different color than the dominant sound. And when we put it all together, this is what it sounds like. So as you can see, getting those beautiful jazz chords under your fingers is way more accessible than most people think. But if you really want to have total freedom with jazz chords, you need to know how to use them, and to do that, you need to properly understand shell voicings. We already made a good start on this today, but we only scratched the surface. If you want to go even deeper, click this video next and I'll see you there.